Line Podcast. If it works out, we're starting podcast 14 right now.
Right now?
Right now.
Go time.
We just got to maneuver out of Flockaville.
Yeah, you know it. That was crazy. We should almost go back and try to document this. Which healthy breakfast food are you going to go after first? This is the place where I went and got those stickers. Skate shop?
Yeah.
That's a cool place,
I didn't
man.
even know that was a thing.
Yeah, man, they got a lot of cool stuff in there. I'm not a skateboarder and it's still cool.
So, if this works out, we're technically mobile podcasting right now.
Mobile podcasting. That's where it's at.
That's where it's at. I'm determining if I should go, so I'm just going to go.
Yep.
Because that person clearly didn't want to cross the street. So we are, not like I said, if this works out, panning out, podcast number 14 from the road on the way to Eskimo Pro Day.
Pro Day.
Put this a little bit below your, so it's not hitting your chin. So, what?
There we go.
So we're okay, so first off, we got donuts. We just stopped at
I'm taking one. I'm hungry.
Raphael's Bakery in Bemidji, Minnesota.
Strip of bacon on there.
We have a 4.5 hour drive down to...
That's it? Thought it was longer than that.
It's actually not that bad. 4.5 hours down to Rice Lake, Cumberland area. We're going to go through Duluth. We're going to do probably a little video blog, too, on top of this podcast. And we're going to get shots of whatever comes our way, I guess, for this podcast.
So far, it's been quite the adventure.
Yeah. We're seeing some Flocka action. There's been... It's almost like Zombieville right now, from people cutting in front of me, driving crappy, to a lady walking across the street, definitely like a zombie, and then hopping the curb like a drunk zombie.
It was really bizarre. She gets to the curb and she double pumps like she's getting ready to do like her best vertical leap. Puts one foot on top of the curb, then pivots around backwards, bringing her other foot up onto the sidewalk.
And she wasn't crippled or anything. She was just...
Straight weird.
Straight weird. So we're doing it as the term Flocka for today because, as you've heard, Flocka around the United States / other countries is a drug that makes you do zombie-like things, and I'm seeing it here in Bemidji, so I can't wait to get out of Bemidji, and we are about 4 minutes away from getting out of Bemidji.
Could it be a precursor to the adventure?
I mean, we could be seeing zombie Flockas all day, for all I know.
Wow.
Looks like McDonald's is getting...
They're getting some concrete done.
They redoing
Yep.
McDonald's.
I guess.
Get rid of that Toyland. No one uses... Does anyone use the Playland anymore?
Yeah.
Like...
When Oliver gets to be big enough to walk, he'll go there.
That place is so gross, dude.
It is gross, but they love it.
Some full-grown people are gonna... Like, all I can see is, like, this dude sticking a razor blade somewhere inside there.
Don't live your life in paranoia.
Yeah, but it's so disgusting and gross in there. That's the
Adults
thing.
can't climb up in that thing. I know, because I've had to bargain with Ellen to get her out of there. Honey, it's time to go. Nope, and she climbs all the way to the top, knowing that I can't climb up in there. Fat man lodged in the playhouse at McDonald's.
Shut her down. Shut her down, McDonald's. Why is McDonald's closed? Big guy got stuck up in Playland again.
Retrieving his kid.
So we are 4.5 hour drive. We're gonna go through Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna go through the beautiful city of Duluth. By the time we get to Duluth, we'll for sure get the camera out and film out the window and stuff. If no one's ever been to the North Shore of Duluth, we're not going North Shore, but you know what I'm saying. Duluth, beautiful area.
Yeah, it's cool town.
But go to the North Shore. That's Minnesota's hidden gem. That's like 80% of the waterfalls are there. So, and then we're going through Superior.
Milk.
And then it's interstate all the way down to Rice Lake. Checking in at 3, having dinner at 6:30, meeting the crew, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Four
great
and a half
time.
hour drive. is what I'm not excited about. But
I'm
it's
excited.
a road trip, so it's all right. And I'm not doing it by myself. Usually I am doing it by myself.
I'm just excited to get out of town, meet some new dudes, that I've just chatted with online and stuff like that. I'm really excited to corner one of the engineers if I don't weird them out too much. Start talking that lingo. Fun stuff.
I am not getting on my phone while driving.
Nope.
But
grip and go milk. Yum.
So I actually have some topics that we can actually talk about while we're driving.
Well,
non-related.
Let's
to
put the cover
driving.
back on this.
No, give me one.
Well, they're gonna get sunburned.
Give me that chocolate.
The chunky
Long
monkey.
John one.
Oh, the chocolate Long John.
Yeah, give me that deal. Oof.
Okay, now we're
weightless, dude. Let's talk about ice safety while we're
It's
driving.
slippery.
Ice is slippery.
No, that's always a good topic to remind people.
We haven't gone over it, right?
No.
We talked about doing it, but we haven't done it. Now, ice safety is very important to, well, it should be important to the fisherman, but at the same time, I think it's more important to the significant other that is worried about you being out on the lake, or your kid worrying about you being out on the lake. And I know with Haley, she always says, make sure you have your picks. Make sure you have your ice cleats. Well, with me, I always wear ice cleats because...
Because you're a runner.
Yeah, I have, when you have like over a $5,000 camera on you, you don't want to fall with that. So, plus, yes, I have to run to hold just to, get the content. So, ice cleats are very important.
Mm-hmm.
And picks are also important, especially early ice, late ice. But what's some of like your, like, do you have any thing that you go through, especially, let's just say early ice, right? I know that there's the chisels, right?
Yep.
Checking 2, 3, 4 feet ahead of you. But is there anything specific from, do you wear a life jacket? Do you have a float suit? What tools do you have? What prep do you go into when thinking of early ice safety? But do early ice, do all year round, and I'm guessing late ice is going to be very similar to the early ice. So just do early ice and all season. Because it obviously changes mid-season.
Well, my number one rule when it comes to ice fishing is the ice is never safe. Whether it's the first 4 inches or whether it's the middle of February, the ice is never safe. So you always gotta keep that in mind. Respect the ice, respect it, and know that.
I was up in Winnipeg last year, and it was, 40, 50, 60 plus inches. I don't know what it was. It was a lot. And I was out with my truck, and we filmed, an episode for Fish Addictions. And the following week on social media, a truck fell through in Lake Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I text Mike right away, and I'm like, I was just out there with my truck, like, feeling safe. Mm-hmm. Clearly wasn't. Because, you're right. So you can continue. I just want to say that mini story.
Yeah, I mean, feeling safe is a good thing, but it can also let your guard down. Knowing the bodies of water is a number 2 rule. I very seldom venture out on brand new ice on a lake. When I say brand new ice, that means a lake that I've never ice fished before, without going out there in my boat first, if I can, or looking at aerial photographs, something looking for springs, creeks, inlets, outlets, that kind of deal. I get pretty spooked out when going on a brand new lake in the wintertime, so I try to do a little research if I can before the ice gets there. I do have a float suit. I have a Striker Predator suit, which I really, really like. It's comfortable, and having that safety feature is comforting, but with that also comes, just because you have a floating ice suit doesn't mean that you should be pushing your limits on early ice. And when I'm talking pushing your limits, like there's a good solid 3 inches. That's just,
Yeah, 3 inches.
Okay, great, you go through, you're floating, but if you can't get out, now it just makes it that much easier for them to find your body. You know what I'm saying? So float suits are great.
Float suits are
they're a great
extra
investment.
precaution.
It's a good precaution, but it is not fail-safe at all. I mean, it could save your life. It could not. There's no guarantee when you go through the ice.
My mom tells me, she's like, make sure you have your float suit on. And I'm like, this is my ice suit. This is what I wear when I'm ice fishing.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, like, I'm wearing it.
I do know some people, and I've seen some people who, pretty antsy about getting out there on the ice right away, and they'll put on a life jacket. That's not my style. Ever since my daughter was born, matter of fact, about a month before she was born in February, I sold my 10-inch auger because I was starting to have dreams of I'm taking her ice fishing and she slips or steps in the hole and goes down a 10-inch hole. Little toddlers can easily fit down there, and it just terrified me. Then I got tired of hauling around a 10-inch auger. But ever since my daughter was born, I'm not that guy that's out there, hauling all my stuff out on 4 inches of ice just to get that early bite. I like to wait till there's, a good 6 inches or so. And once the lake freezes over, it doesn't take long for it to build a good thick foundation of ice. I can wait an extra 2 weeks and get an extra couple inches under me, and I feel better about it. It's not that big a deal. There's no trophy or reward for being the first guy out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a beginning of season, not worth the rush. With us, with our show, we always try to practice safety on the ice, and that's why when our show is slightly current, we also don't want to go film on a sketchy location and then someone go 2 days later, go to the same spot and have something happen to them.
Right.
Because, Fish Editions was out there, was good to go.
Right.
Well, yeah, you want the lake to be safe, first of all. That's the first thing. Forget the gear. The first thing is that there should be thick enough ice. I mean, right? That's in my mind, that's a no-brainer, type situation.
My first, my first week or so of quote-unquote ice season is checking lakes, and that's with a buddy, always with a buddy. I never check by myself. Some of my favorite lakes that I know freeze early.
I do have a couple friends that have told me the buddy system
is an absolute must.
They do not go out early ice without someone, especially if they're just checking the ice.
Right.
They don't go out by themselves.
And with the buddy comes a lot of rope, a throw floatable, like a boat seat or a life vest or something. And that rope is tied around the lightest guy. The lightest guy, and he's got his chisel, and he just, walk a foot, chisel, walk a foot, and good hard swings. If the first swing goes through, then you just turn around and say, well, we're just going to have to wait a week.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the conditions are right, it doesn't take long for it to make ice.
It can be a fun thing to, hey, dude, let's go grab some lunch and let's go check 6 lakes.
Right.
And because every lake's going to be different. And
get a box of donuts.
And hit the road and just go check. I mean, so first off, ice should be safe. Second, thick enough, right?
Yep.
Or at least you think it's thick enough. And then second would be a buddy. Get a buddy.
Buddy
and
system.
then, now this is all early, of course, ice. And then tools would be, some sort of flotation device. Just to
throwable flotation.
Help your body. Throwable flotation. Rope. A big hand chisel.
Yep.
Ice picks. Depends on really what thickness of ice you're dealing with. And off the top of your head, do you know what thickness it is for a person to walk out? Is it 3 inches?
I think the Department of Natural Resources says 3 to 4 inches. Now, I've been on 3 to 4 inches, and
depending on body of weight.
It'll hold you up, but it's a very, very creepy feeling because once you've drilled that hole and you sit down, especially if you're in a portable and you're sitting inside there, the angle at which you're looking at your hole, it looks like you're sitting on about a 1/4 inch ice.
Yeah.
It's really spooky looking. And you know what? Here's the other thing about early ice. A lot of times when early ice gets here, there isn't much for snow, and that just makes it hard to walk on. When you set up, there's nothing to bank your house up. If you want to bank it, the fish can see up through that ice if it's good clear ice. I like to wait for a little bit of snow cover myself, along with that extra. For me, my minimum, I'm a big dude, getting smaller, but I like to look for that, that 6 inches. I'm cool with going out on 6 inches now.
Okay. So that's your happy medium is about 6 inches.
It's about 6 inches.
They say you can go a little less, but why not be a little bit more
And it all
safe?
depends on the body of water. Your clear lakes, your ultra clear lakes, those have a tendency to freeze up a little bit quicker because it's clear water. There's, most of the vegetation is already passed on, and it doesn't hold a lot of heat as much as a darker body of water, a stained body of water. It holds a little bit more heat. So that's something that I keep in mind too. Some of my favorite bluegill lakes are off-colored or dark, muddy water, and they hold more heat. So you might have 4 inches on a gin clear lake. You might only have 2.5 in spots on some of that darker water.
Now, usually, from what people have always told me, is the darker the ice, the crappier the ice. Is that a true statement? Like when you see like a dark patch of ice, typically it's not that thick of ice, or is that just something that has just floated through my brain since I was a kid? Watch out for the super dark spots.
No, I think that's something that some misinformation maybe, perhaps, because on a really clear body of water, I've driven my vehicle out on some roads before where the snow has melted off of the roads, and the road looks like jet black until you start looking down and you can see like, oh, there's the bottom of the lake, and then you can, as you're driving, you drive over that drop off and it just turns to pitch black. Super creepy, but I've experienced that on Lake Winnie before. Winnebagosh. You're just like, that looks like open water. It can't be. It's a road.
Let's go for it.
But it's just the darkness down below. But again, I can't emphasize the importance of familiarity with the lake. Like I said, I think it's just a bad idea to, you know what? I've never ice fished this lake. I've never been to it. Let's just go there. Ask around or do some research. Look for springs and creeks. That's what gets some dudes in danger. I think,
springs and creeks and not being aware of the lake itself.
Right. And some lakes have a pretty good current going through them if there's an inlet and outlet. That can just be really dangerous stuff. Now, as winter progresses, midwinter, ATVs then start coming out, and snowmobiles on that.
Permanent houses start coming out.
That 7 to 9 inches or so. They say, light trucks, half-ton trucks maybe. You can drive. No.
I was gonna say I'm good. Not today.
12 to 14 inches.
Yeah, I thought it was more than a foot.
I've driven my Jeep on 8 before, accidentally, 8-9 inches. I knew the body of water, and I'd seen tracks from other vehicles, and I was like, oh, okay, we're good. And I kind of went off those tracks, and I went to my spot and drilled a hole, and I was like, whoa, that went way too quick. And I did a quick measurement, and my Jeep and I were sitting on 8 inches of ice. I fished because the Jeep didn't go through, but I didn't fish very long. I was like, I think I'm just going to get out of here. But
so once you get more into mid ice, you're really just relying on crossing your fingers, hoping all is good. Still, when you drill those holes, you're constantly checking, right? You drill a hole and you're like, all right, this is definitely too shallow of ice-wise, right? I mean,
right.
And having your ice picks, having your float suit. But what about keeping spare stuff, let's say you have a snowmobile or a four-wheeler, keeping some of that extra stuff just on hand, like rope, like, spare snowmobile parts just in case your snowmobile breaks down, like that kind of stuff.
Another thing,
Like in your
a spare pair of wool socks, sweatpants, sweatshirt, in case you do go through.
Extra clothes.
You wanna get all that wet clothes off as quick as possible and get dry stuff on.
Do you keep any of this stuff in your Jeep? Because your Jeep's really just like that mobile ice fishing machine. Just kind of
the way they make four-wheelers and side-by-sides now. Mine's basically a side-by-side with a roof and a radio. Well, no, the radio got stolen.
Yeah, Bemidji.
That was actually St. Paul. But
do you?
I keep a couple of towels, like beach towels, in my Jeep. I do have some spare clothes back there.
People always tell us with
toolkits
on when you're out in your snowmobiles, they're like, dude, if you break down and your belt goes or something, you should always have spare belts and snowmobile parts and rope and this and this and this. And did you know this could be used for this? And we're like, oh, geez, okay. Because you go up in Canada and when your cell phone stops working and your snowmobile breaks down, what are you gonna do?
So eat a lot of frozen fish.
Yeah.
Sushi style.
So, ice safety, I think, now there's other people out there that do other things. They're going to do it better. They have other things. This is just a few things off of the top of my head while I'm driving in the middle of fall, not even thinking about open ice, or ice fishing, I should say, early ice. These are just a few things off of our head, but other people have, I'm sure, other things. I'm sure they have other tools out there. They have safety kits. You could buy a safety kit, but it's the same thing with us being up in northern Minnesota when it's negative 45. When I turned 16, everyone always said, hey, throw a safety kit in the back of your truck or
blankets,
back of your
candles,
car.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, blankets, candles, because when your car breaks down or doesn't work or you get in a car accident and it's the middle of the night, you need to be able to live,
stay warm,
survive, stay warm. So it kind of is the same thing. I'm sure going out ice fishing, they have safety kits you can purchase online.
Oh yeah, and especially for the ATV, the four-wheeler guys and the snowmobile guys, and you can get into like the Nebulous system.
Oh yeah, there you go. Didn't even think of the Nebulous.
Yeah.
So
that's a pretty cool device. It's well worth the investment. Your life is priceless.
Exactly. Your life is not worth fishing, ice fishing for, and the Nebulous goes on the back of your snowmobile, the front of your snowmobile, wherever I've seen it in the front, I've seen it in the back. Your sled goes down, it goes in, you pop it, and it
keeps it floating.
Opens up, and floats it up. Yeah. And a terrible tragic story. Jim Hudson, back in 2012, 2013. Good friends with his wife still. She shoots photography. And he got me in with the Next Bite when I started working with them. He was a clam guy. He was an awesome guy. And he was actually one of the speakers for Nebulous.
Yeah.
And he also owns his own. He owned his own guide service up in just north of
Superior,
Ashland, Wisconsin. Yeah. And he went out with guiding people. He took them to a spot and he let them fish, and he decided he wanted to go search some new waters. And this is his home body water,
Yeah.
Wanted to search some more waters to see what he could find. And snowmobile fell in, and he did not have the Nebulous on his snowmobile. Tragic story, but good person. It's a terrible thing to talk about. It just, every year, it hits you when it comes about that date that he passed away. For a lot of us in the fishing industry that knew him. Mm-hmm. And all you can think about is that reminder of, okay, I have a, 8-month-old, you have, 5
should be
5-year-old. We all have something better off than trying to catch this fish, especially since there's so many different ways to do it, from open water to ice fishing. There's no rush.
Right.
to go out there. You got all year wanting to fish. Just make sure everything is in place and everything's okay. And do your get your safety stuff and test the waters before taking your first step out of there.
Absolutely.
And a lot of companies push ice safety, and a lot of TV shows have pushed it. It's an awesome thing to do, and you should do it.
These ice companies, like I said, they got float suits. You know, Stryker makes their original float suit. Clam's got a float suit. Fraybill's got a float suit. You know, they're starting to put built-in ice picks in the jackets. You know, that's something that I use I have picks. I will be honest and say a lot of times I forget to put them around my neck, and I go out ice fishing, come back, be like, those are supposed to be around my neck.
Yeah.
Not.
Definitely the first month I'll wear it every single time I go.
You can buy every
They're so cheap, too.
Just about every company makes ice picks. I think last year or the year before, Fraybill was giving out ice picks at the St. Paul show. Stop by the booth, get free pair of ice picks.
Be safe.
You can make your own ice picks.
Yeah, exactly. You can make your own.
Yeah, I mean, they're a simple tool.
I kind of mentioned at the beginning, ice cleats are a top 5 for me.
Yeah.
From my suit.
And I think they're really underutilized and often overlooked.
Cleats?
Yeah. Man, you slip and fall. I mean, it's one thing to slip and fall. You know, okay, I bruised my ass cheek, or you could break an arm.
Well, how about Mike?
Could break a collarbone.
Okay. Mike last year in Winnipeg was running over to his brother. I was sitting in my truck, staying warm. You know, like the camera guy that wants to stay warm.
Right.
And Mike was running over to his brother who caught a fish, and Mike didn't wear his cleats. I don't know how many times I tell him, don't forget the cleats, don't forget the cleats. And now he's like, I'm never going to forget my cleats again. He went up, came right back down. His head smoked the ice.
Boom.
Blacked out, knocked out, gone.
Yep. That's the point
People
I was
were
going to bring
yelling,
up.
Mike, Mike, Mike. I go running over to him. His brother runs over. We're like, Mike. And he eventually came to and was like, what's going on, y'all? And stuff like that, the minimalist things, just like walking can potentially hurt you. You don't have to fall. The lake doesn't have to bust open for you to get hurt or die.
Yeah.
It could just be as simple as walking on a patch of snow to ice, and that snow gets caught under your boot, and you just go, or you just go in general because it's slippery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point I was going to bring up, is you can easily get knocked out with a slip and fall, and that's not a good thing.
So fishermen get called athletes.
Right.
Are they considered athletes? And one of the questions that I know we've talked about is that they possibly get considered athletes in the professional aspect. What's your take on fishermen as athletes?
My stance would be that if fishing is your sole profession, like that's what you use to put groceries on the table, the mortgage, the car payment, all that kind of stuff, and whatnot, and you're doing that every day for your job, your main source of income, I would deem you an athlete. A professional angler, in my mind, would be an athlete. I'm an angler. I fish a lot, but I would never call myself an athlete.
And why is that?
Because
you're considered in the professional level, in a sense. You're not a professional walleye fisherman, but you're in the professional level of the outdoor industry, being with sponsors and the TV show. So why don't you consider yourself an athlete? Is it because you're not out on the water in tournaments weekly, monthly, whatever? Or
I guess
it's because you don't think that you're...
If the day comes when this is what I do for a living, instead of building fish houses or, working the 9 to 5 grind, then yeah, because I would have time to train better so that I can perform fishing better. Training meaning exercising and all that kind of stuff. Not that I don't want to let that be an excuse why I'm not in the gym right now, but I do work 48 hours a week plus try to do this fishing stuff. And when I say like an athlete, like professional football player, between Sunday and Sunday, he's not pulling down shifts making McGriddles.
Yeah, but your job is in the fishing industry as well because you build fish houses.
Right.
So you're in the industry in a sense, but
I'd more consider myself a professional.
Professional, yeah. There's the difference.
Than an athlete.
I like the proper term of professional. A professional fisherman, you make a profession out of it.
And I think the same thing goes with other sports. He's a professional football player. It's just the word, he plays.
But the difference is, the sports is associated with athlete, and to me, a fisherman as an athlete.
Yeah, and if you're
very hard to go by.
If you're fishing, at the professional level with that, where, like I was saying earlier, that is your main job. It is physically demanding. You have to be in shape. I don't think guys like Kevin Van Dam and Mike Iaconelli and so on, sit around on the couch between tournaments.
Yeah.
You can't do that, man. You're on your feet all day. And then after the tournament, you're on your feet even longer. You're doing promotions for your sponsors. You're doing meet and greets and all this and that. And then you check out of your hotel room and you hit the road and you probably have to drive 1,000 miles. You got to kind of be in shape for that kind of stuff. So like I said, when that becomes your everyday job, your 9-to-5 grind, then I would say you're an athlete.
There are Facebook pages like, for professional fishermen where their description, because you always have to pick it when you make a page, you have to pick a description, what.
Yeah, I see it, and I've seen them.
They say like athletes or sports athletes.
Right.
For professional fishermen, and they have their own private page because they don't want all the friend requests, all that good stuff.
Right.
But so in a professional aspect of tournament stuff like that, considered athletes. In a situation like you, more considerable towards just a professional fisherman or professional person in the outdoors, I should say.
Like I said, when your fishing paychecks pay for the mortgage, the truck payment,
the truck and everything,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, then I would
has
say
nothing
you're an
to do
athlete.
with being fit or anything, right?
Well, I mean, if you want to stay competitive at that level, you're going to have to be in some sort of shape other than round. I mean, we know professional anglers on the tournament trail.
It's actually quite a hard lifestyle.
Right.
But it's some of the hard lifestyle that we do with Fish Addictions too. When we're on the road filming, we're in the same aspect of a professional fisherman. We're on the road, eating out, we're away from family, and we're trying to catch fish in 3 days, a week, whatever. But some's for a tournament, and we're for a TV show. So we're really close in the same aspect of it. And I think you need to...
And there's days where, you've got to get, you've traveled this far, you got 3 days, you got to get the show done, and it is brutal, gross weather. You still got to do it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the professional bass angler.
It's a grind. It's a hard.
I just drove from
lifestyle.
the California Delta to Florida, and it is miserable. And I don't want to do this, but I have to because I have bills to pay.
Absolutely.
So that's where I stand on that. I would say that.
I'm in a little bit of agreement because I'm not 100% for the term athlete for fishermen, but I guess in the professional stance of maybe the tournament series.
How about in England? Let's talk about over across the pond. They play professional darts.
Are they athletes?
They are considered athletes over there.
I could see that.
They're competing in a sport.
Yeah. So I guess if you can consider it a sport, which fishing is considered a sport,
tournament fishing,
then you would be an athlete because you're
competing. Yeah.
I think that just summed it up right there. That one, that quick line.
And those guys, they just have to be in shape mentally. You see a lot of these. I watch professional darts online, because I used to be a dart player, and it's fascinating stuff. To play real steel tip darts, and most of those guys, they're not afraid to drink a beer, but they're on TV. Over there, darts are on a Sunday night,
bowling and that kind of stuff, and the professional aspect of it.
Right.
I mean, in a sense, you watch like the Jack Links,
Major League
Fishing. There, it's Major League. It's fishing. It's a sport. It's for money. There's a first place, a second place, a third place. And they're competing, so they would be considered an athlete.
That's a great way to sum that up. I think we answered our own question.
Yeah, I wasn't going into it with that head, but that's what I'm going with. I think we did a good job on depicting that.
Nailed it.
Woo!
Ooh, that's the donut talking.
What's the difference in rod lengths for ice fishing? Is there really? Because there are some different lengths.
Oh, absolutely, man.
So what's the difference?
Well, your shortest rods would be your sight fishing rods, and I'm talking
palm rods.
Palm rods, yeah, you can definitely sight fish with palm rod. That also leads into a different thing that I want to talk about on a different podcast, because it'll take probably majority of the time.
Palm rods?
Just
or sight fishing.
Ice fishing rods.
Okay.
But we'll touch on to get it started. We can go there.
We don't have to talk about it.
Anything under 20 inches, I would use for sight fishing. Looking down, peering down over the hole. You want a shorter rod because you're going to be bent over. And then from there on up, if you're a guy that doesn't fish inside of a portable and you like to hole hop, save your lower back, and now you start looking at 36 and 40 inch. I think Jason Mitchell line now has a 45 and a 48 inch. 48 inches, you might as well use an ultralight that you use in the summertime.
Yeah.
But there, you don't have to bend down. You can stand away from the hole. Fraybill's got like these other sticks. They got a little tiny reel built into the back, and they're 52. They make a 52 inch and a 46 inch or something. They're telescopic. There's no guides on them. The line goes through the blank, and they're specifically jiggle sticks or whatever. And usually you just have you're fishing shallow with those long rods, and you can just lift the fish right out of the hole.
I've never seen those.
Yeah, I think I still have some. I'll have to bring them to you. But inside of the portable, it all depends on the size of your fish house. I usually run a minimum. I like 27 to 32 inch rods, depending on. Like I can fish a 32 inch rod inside my Eskimo Wide One Inferno, really nice. I like a little bit longer rod. I can sit back. I don't have to scoop right up to the edge of the hole. So a longer rod or a shorter rod's gonna position you closer to or further away from the hole. Yeah. So rod length it can play an important role, for sure.
Well, I always see, let's just say Mike, for instance, he's got a bag with 9 different rods in it and switching them in and out, and I'm just like, why are you switching to a different rod, or why this? Why
what?
Why do you have them for walleye? Why do you have specific for pan fishing?
I have a ton of panfish rods, and I take as many as I can at times, and it's not as I'm looking for different actions. I usually have a rod with a spring bobber on there, and then like a noodle type rod, and then like a medium light action rod. So I usually try to take 3 with me, but a lot of times, and those 3, they're specific actions or presentations. So I have a spring bobber rod for a really light bite with a small jig. I have the medium light or light action rod for a little bit more aggressive bite where they're hitting like a spoon, a small spoon. And then I have a noodle rod for that kind of in-between bite where they're somewhat aggressive but still kind of shy, you know. So that way I can cover various different moods of fish and techniques.
To me, I would think about the hook is going to play that part. So,
well, you have to have the proper rod to fish the proper lure. You know, you're not going to want to fish a heavier spoon with a spring bobber. It defeats the purpose.
True.
You know, it's just going to bury that light wire. And another reason is man, I need cheater glasses because I need bifocals now and stuff.
Getting old.
I am getting old, and it's tough to put 3-pound lines through these little tiny ice jigs. And so I'll spend the night before and I'll tie up a bunch of rods. So if I break off, I'm just like, I got another one right here. I don't have to try to fish this 2-pound, 3-pound line through this tiny eyelet with frozen hands.
All I can think of is beginning of last year, was it, when we did the Fish Addictions training camp video, and you were like,
trying to get her in there.
Trying to get it in there, tying it up and then dropping it one-handed.
And a lot of guys do that. You know, they'll if you look at some of these guys like Michael Thompson, Stuart Manning, Lawrence Luoma, you know, they have literally a bucket full of rods for tournament time. There's no wasted time tying anything up, just like a professional bass angler. A lot of people have asked me, like, why do these guys need so many rods? Top water, medium crankbait, a jig, a finesse. They don't want to waste time tying and rigging things up. They do that stuff the night before, so everything is ready to go. So if you're fishing an area and you're going to start out in the morning and you're buzz bait fishing, and that bite dies off, you can just grab a spinner bait or a worm and start doing that. Same thing with ice fishing. You know, if the spoon bite is hot and all of a sudden it starts to die off, but there's still fish lingering around, chances are those are a little bit more negative fish. And if you're up for the challenge, all right, put the spoon rod down. I'm going to grab the spring bobber rod. I'm going to see if I can get these last few to
cooperate.
Yeah, and you're already rigged up instead of biting and looking for the jig, and oh my God, they're still there, and you just get that knot cinched down and they're gone. Where before you can just grab that rod and fire it down.
Just screw it around.
Yep, wasting time tying. So that's a little wild.
This guy is out.
Flocka.
Yeah, they're out filling holes.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of stepping in front of traffic.
No cones. Oh, this guy in front's going to throw the hazards on. This is kind of fun doing a mobile cast we're giving. I wish I could turn the camera around.
Oh, that one's going.
Okay, cool.
Should I throw my hazards on too?
I don't know what the deal is there. All right.
That was fun. There we go.
We got Joe Safety in front of us.
Yeah. Except for I need to pass him because he is slow.
Yep.
So what else do you want to chat about?
We can quit with making fun of the Packers. Poor guy broke his collarbone. Leave him alone.
Poor guy, yeah, leave him alone. Leave him alone. He has a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, who cares? Aaron Rodgers, you know what? He got hurt, but I just got my pay stub. It's still the same as the other 2 weeks, you know? It's not a big deal.
Didn't change you.
Didn't change anything. It's fun to poke fun. And I'll admit, I sent a few memes out to some of my buddies that are Packer fans, but you know, just the one time, you know, it's fine.
But Vikings fans have to take advantage of this for the next month because...
Well, like we were talking about after that game, you know, I said Vikings fans, you know, they're hardcore, but they will turn on their own kind too.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. I'd say that they're
NFL
champions when it comes to memes.
This is true.
I want to fish that lake out there. I don't even know what it's called. I don't even know how deep it is, but I always want to go out
there. I've fished a lake around here with...
No, it's back there.
Was it back there?
Yeah. I know
Closer to
which
Cass Lake.
Yeah, I know which lake you're talking about.
Crappies?
Yeah.
I don't know what that lake is called, but
I do. That's where I lost my
but we
giant
can't
bluegill.
say it.
Yeah.
Can't say it.
No. Man, it sure didn't take long for the leaves to fall and disappear.
No, but the needles are looking pretty awesome.
Well, those are your tamaracks. They drop their needles in the winter and they regrow them in the spring. It's beautiful, beautiful wood, beautiful tree. Anyway.
Well, what do you think? This is like a 43-minute, 40-minute, 38-minute.
That's cool. I think
Minicast.
we should stop. There's another one I want to fish. I don't know what that is either. And the whole thing might only be a couple feet deep too. I don't know.
All right,
I can't get a boat to it.
This would be a slight definition of a mini cast from the road. We talked about one or two subjects. We might even throw the camera on again before we get there, but we're also gonna film ourselves trying to do maybe a little video blog at the same time.
Right.
And
Various types of equipment.
Yeah, and we'll definitely maybe do one on the way back talking about, the event, or just when we get back in the studio. But
shenanigans. Just watch for shenanigans. I want to fill our YouTube channel with little 5-minute bits of shenanigans here and there between podcasts.
So this one had a couple.
We get into some shit. Like the Flocka lady. That could have been check it out.
Check out the Flocka lady. She just wants to get hit by a car. Broken Line Podcast, episode 14, mini podcast on the road. Hopefully the audio turned out great. Hopefully the video turned out great. We don't know because we've never done it before in the road, but don't forget to comment, share, like, subscribe, message us, hit us up, and we're going to get some more content here shortly at the Eskimo Pro Day.
Yeah, and whatever else
Shenanigans
we see along our travels here.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure. My name's Aaron.
And I'm Patrick.
And this is...
Broken Line.
Zing!
Out of here!
It's kind of a really awesome name, right? The Broken Line. You're talking about fishing, but when the line breaks, man, shit just gets unreal. Yeah!